Does Ruger need to update the LCP Max? We're out at the beautiful Banner shooting range. Today, we're revisiting with a firearm we've visited with many times since its release on the channel, the Ruger LCP Max. A year ago, or about a year ago, we did a video asking if the LCP Max was still relevant in 2024, and some said yay, some said nay. Here we are about a year later, and not only do we have the Bodyguard 2 that has been released since this LCP Max, but we have the Bodyguard 2 Carry Comp that is also now out, which is yet another step in that Bodyguard versus LCP chain, shall we say. So I think the question we need to ask ourselves is, not only is the LCP Max still relevant now in 2025, tail end of 2025, but does Ruger maybe need to come out with a LCP Max 2 or LCP Max X or whatever they might call it? Yet another iteration of the LCP Max family. Really, since this firearm has come out, other than some different slide colors and earlier this year a thumb safety version of the firearm, it's pretty much unchanged since it's hit the market a couple years ago now. Let's shoot it today at a target that better represents its intended use case, a full-size silhouette target. And we're going to see, can we put hits, effective hits on that silhouette target to call the LCP Max still good enough for its intended use case? To start the day, rather than doing range and target ammo, which we're going to shoot for most of the rest of the video, we're going to do 10 rounds of self-defense ammo at our full-size silhouette target. This is the Hornady 95 grain American gunner with the FTX projectile. No, excuse me, with the XTP projectile. Slight difference there. Now, I haven't shot this LCP Max in probably a month or a month and a half, so it probably represents how many owners, while they don't shoot it every weekend or every month, they at least periodically shoot it to stay somewhat fresh in their mind how it performs. So I would say we're pretty close to that. And for our first magazine, in addition to doing that self-defense ammo, I'm going to do more point or instinct shooting instead of relying 100% on the sights here. Sort of emulating at a range where you can't rapid fire, sort of the desperation shooting you'd probably be doing in a self-defense situation. So let's give it a try here, 10 rounds, and we'll see if I can put any hits on that full-size silhouette target out there at 7 yards. Here we go. Okay, so we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 of 10 on the target, 9 of 10 in that 9 ring or better, 1 in the 8 ring, we'll say a little to the left of the belly button, with at least 5 in the critical zone. Hard to complain about that considering not using the sights, self-defense ammo, haven't shot the gun in a while. So far, it's looking like that LCP Max still has a place. Let's transition now to some range and target ammo that's cheaper and more wallet-friendly for practice. And this time I'll do 10 shots, actually using the sights, same center mass, and we'll see if I can put a group or a number of shots in a similar area. Here we go. Okay, this is the original magazine. I got the LCP Max day 1. Original mag doesn't consistently do the lock back on empty. Ruger sent me this one as a replacement, so using these sights, it will need to use target. Okay, 20 of 20 on the target, so all 10. Though noticeably when relying on the sights, no one near as good. Funny how the world works. We got at least 3 in the 8 ring, 1 on the border of the 7 ring, the rest of them in the 9 ring, maybe 1 in the critical area of the 9 ring. So we actually did better with the self-defense ammo, not relying on the sights. Who knew? All right, looks like we'll have to redo some one-handed shooting here. I think Target Cam, which also handles the wireless mics, filled up on me during that last attempt here. So let's do another magazine, 5 right-handed, 5 left-handed. This time we're going to try to put some in the cranial zone of that target. Here we go. Let's see what happens. Okay, it looks like my first 2 shots were actually in the critical zone. My next 3 are a little left of above the shoulder, just off the silhouette. Left-handed, it looks like I'm also quite a bit to the left. Looks like we were all around the silhouette, but none on the silhouette. I tried a slightly different grip with my left hand, which you could probably tell. Let's do 5 more, we'll see what happens. Okay, we got a couple in the neck. At least 1 left-handed we put in the critical zone, though definitely unspectacular with the one-handed shooting. As a final test for our LCP Max today, we're going to do our classic accuracy test. I've put a 1.5 inch target out there over the right-hand shoulder of our silhouette target. It's in an area that doesn't have any impact, so we should be able to judge how close we get to that target. Hopefully we can put at least 1 hit on that little 1.5 inch challenge target. Cross your fingers. I would say this pistol, it's not meant for pinpoint accuracy. It's meant more for desperation, but maybe if we feel desperate enough to hit that target, we'll put it on it. Here we go. It looks like we got 1 at about 5 o'clock, 1 at 6 o'clock, 1, 2, 3, and maybe 4 all around the target on the business card, 1 just off the business card. That's actually quite a bit better than what I was expecting. Good times. The Ruger LCP Max is a reliable, easy to conceal, easy to carry, accurate enough for its purpose pistol. But is that enough at the tail end of 2025, going into 2026? While I think the LCP Max is still plenty good enough for its purpose today, the question we're diving into today probably has more to do with, is it still relevant in the 380 marketplace? And if not, what does Ruger need to do to make it relevant again? One aspect some people will point to is price. At some stores, you may be able to find certain LCP Max models priced in that $300 ballpark, like this stainless steel variant, for example. But in some places, like say where I live, that version is not as common in stores as, say, this model with a price approaching that $400 ballpark. We won't bring up the different color options that are priced even higher. Why is that $400 line important? Well, many people consider the LCP Max's greatest competitor and king of the current Pocket 380 class, the Smith & Wesson Bodyguard 2.0, sits at that $400 line. While a $100 price difference will be enough of a difference for those with restricted special effects budgets, that same barrier isn't there for everyone. Outside of brand loyalists, things like features and shootability will come into play for many when deciding how to spend their Benjamins. In terms of capacity, concealability, and carryability, the LCP Max and the Bodyguard 2.0 are equals. Some will try and make arguments about one being more concealable versus the other, but for the vast majority of people, a tenth of an inch here or there won't make a difference. Capacity, concealability, and carryability are important metrics, but other equally as important metrics also exist, like, say, recoil and shootability. The Bodyguard 2.0 is almost universally regarded as having significantly less felt recoil compared to the LCP Max. Combine that with what many consider to be a better trigger, and you end up with a pocketable pistol many find to be much more shootable compared to the LCP Max. That translates to an improvement in another important metric: accuracy. Less recoil and a better trigger, more often than not, lend themselves to a more accurate pistol for many shooters. Which brings us back to the heart of today's topic. Looking at the LCP Max we shot in today's video, the one priced at that $380 ballpark at my local stores, when sitting next to the $400 Bodyguard 2.0, if I didn't have either one, would I buy the LCP Max first? I'm sorry, Ruger fans, but the answer is no. Why? While capacity, concealability, and carryability are equal, less felt recoil and an easier to shoot pistol are worth an extra $20 to me. I'd go as far as to say to worth they're an extra $100 to me, but that's just me and my special effects budget. So what does Ruger need to do to narrow the gap and bring the LCP Max back into the conversation, of which would I open my wallet for? The easy, unlikely answer is get cheaper. In the sub $300 ballpark, where there's more than $100 difference between them, the draw of the Bodyguard 2 is diminished. Other than getting cheaper, are there other options? Well, of course. Obviously, Smith & Wesson found a way to improve the trigger, lessen the recoil, and bump the capacity when going from the original Bodyguard to the Bodyguard 2.0, and they did so without increasing the price. While Ruger doesn't need to bump the capacity of the LCP Max, though in my opinion, improving the trigger and decreasing the recoil are two areas that need to be at the top of the list. If that means transitioning the LCP family to striker fired, so be it. Ruger already sells at least 3 striker fired pistols: the Max 9, the EC9, and the RMX. So it's not like they're unfamiliar with striker fired pistol designs. On top of that, a new design should include a finish that has improved rust prevention. While my LCP Max remains rust free, plenty of others are not in that same boat. A pistol that's likely to be carried in close proximity to human sweat for long periods of time needs to be able to withstand that. I don't care about different colors or cow print, unless maybe you're talking Dictator gold plated special. A better finish that better resists rust is a must have. One other improvement some would like to see is an optics ready slide. While I'm not in the boat of those who would like to see an optic on their micro compact pocketable 380, plenty of others who wouldn't complain about having that want it from the manufacturer. Micro red dots are only getting better and better, so it won't be long before we have multiple options that are sized to fit and function well on a micro pocketable 380. And let's not forget, all these upgrades need to come without a price increase. That seems like a impossible task to ask, I know, but we're asking nonetheless. Well, that seems like the perfect spot to call it a day on today's video. Do you think the LCP Max is still good enough in today's marketplace? Or do you think Ruger needs to update the line and bring something new to the table? If you think it needs some updates, what updates do you think it needs? Let us know in the comments. Well, Fred and I really appreciate you getting this far. If you enjoyed today's video, like the video, share it with your friends and family. Those things are free and they help the channel greatly. If you didn't enjoy today's video, like it anyway. It helps the channel and no one's going to know you did it anyway. Thanks for getting this far, and as always, have a nice night.